Tonight, as the world outside your window grows quiet, we step back nearly 2,000 years. The glow of your room fades, and in its place a softer light appears, the hush of oil lamps and the gentle shimmer of torches catching on polished stone. You are standing at the heart of an empire that once called itself eternal. Around you lies the city of Rome at twilight, not roaring with triumph, but exhaling, laying down the weight of the day, settling into the rhythm of the night overhead. The last ribbons of daylight slip behind tiled rooftops. A breeze moves through narrow streets, carrying the scents of warm bread, pressed olives, and spiced wine. A mule cart creaks by, wooden wheels finding old grooves worn into cobbles by generations of traffic. Voices travel in soft currents, Latin thick with local color, Greek with the music of the East, traders' tongues from Africa and Gaul. The city's sound is layered, footsteps in sandals, the clink of a metal clasp, a laugh turned quickly to a whisper, the even trickle of water from a fountain set in a small square. Rome in daylight is a place of decisions and proclamations, crowded forums and relentless errands. But Rome at night reveals other truths. The marble seems warmer. The bronze doors of temples hold a quiet firelight. Columns throw long, even shadows that feel less like power and more like patience. Statues watch the hours with the unblinking calm of stone. If daytime Rome tells you who rules, nighttime Rome tells you who lives here. You begin to walk without purpose, the best way to meet a city. Lamps hang from iron hooks, their small flames steady in clay bowls. The nearest light reveals the texture of a plaster wall and a series of handprints where a mason once tested pigment. You pass a tiny shrine in a niche, its small figures, the Lares, guardians of this street, outlined by a wavering flame. Someone has left a pinch of grain, a fig cut neatly in half. These offerings are not grand gestures. They are acknowledgments. The city is alive. Its crossings and corners have spirits. One proceeds with respect. To your right, a baker lowers a wooden shutter halfway, still holding back a last wave of heat from the oven. Inside, round loaves cool on a plank. The crust is dusted with flour, split along a seam where steam escaped. A boy, bare-legged and alert, waits with a coin closed tight in his fist. The baker meets his eyes, smiles, and presses a loaf into his palms. The smell is deep and comforting, grain and smoke and something faintly sweet. He runs off toward a stairwell tucked beneath an arch, the loaf cradled like a prize. If the empire is a map of provinces and borders, the empire is also this exchange: daily food, daily care, daily kindness. A group of laborers lean against a wall, shoulders touching, sharing a clay jug of watered wine. Their day has been long and their talk is ordinary: the price of oil, a cousin's wedding, a missing chisel that might turn up tomorrow. One of them holds a small packet of olives, another breaks a piece of bread and dips it into a dish bright with fish sauce, garum, sharp, salty, and beloved. Work is rarely elegy. It is simply done, and at day's end it is simply set down. They let the night find them where they are, and for a few breaths all is unarguable and simple. The street turns and opens into a little square where a fountain spills from a lion's mouth into a stone basin. A woman in a dark-dyed stola sets her jar beneath the stream and watches the water rise, moonlight turning the surface to glass. She pauses before she lifts it, as if listening. Perhaps she hears the river's more distant voice, the Tiber beyond the houses where barges moor for the night. Perhaps she is only waiting for her breath to slow after the climb. She nods to you as she passes, jar balanced against her hip, steps certain in the near dark. Not all of Rome is quiet ease. Above many shops, the insulae, the apartments of the crowded poor, stack like drawers. A coil of smoke wanders from a window. The shadow of a cat crosses a sill. A door opens and closes with the thud of seasoned wood. Here, rooms are small and walls thin. Smells and songs mingle. But there is fellowship, too, a neighbour's knock, a shared cup of stew, a lullaby that becomes the building's lullaby. Farther uphill, beyond your sight, are the townhouses of the wealthy, domus with open atria and mosaic floors cooling under the evening air. Rome holds both grandeur and scarcity within a few hundred paces. Night smooths the line between them without pretending it does not exist. A storyteller has claimed a step near a lamplight, and a knot of children draws close. His hands trace the outline of a hero bigger than fear, the arc of a journey longer than a road. He speaks of Hercules, of labours so great they taste like dreams, and the children lean in not for victory, but for cleverness and courage that feel reachable. Behind them, a mother listens without seeming to, shelling beans into a bowl. The shells fall with a soft, steady click, a meter that keeps the tale from floating away entirely into myth. Rome does not banish the gods. It places them within reach, as stories that teach you how to go on. The sky, which began this walk as a wash of bruised blue, now gathers stars. Romans know them by names that are still ours. They tell time by them, plan voyages, forecast weather, and tell each other who they believe themselves to be. Look long enough and the constellations assemble from scattered points. Hunter, twins, lion. Some nights a planet burns steadier than any star, a bright, patient witness. Lamps throw halos on worn thresholds. The night air takes on the softness that comes only after heat has bled from stone. Near the forum, a pair of officials conclude a conversation postponed from noon. Their tones are measured and low. One gestures to a seal on a scroll. One rubs a tired eye with the back of his knuckle. Policy is the public story. Fatigue is the private footnote. They part with a clasp of forearms, a formal courtesy made human by a yawn neither bothers to hide. You pass a taverna with a curtain of rough cloth hanging in its doorway. Inside, dice clatter across a table, stop, and are gathered again. A lyre sounds a melody that was born long before this evening and will be played long after. A host sets clay cups in a row, wipes a little spill with the edge of his sleeve, and tops a pitcher with a wedge of cork. The talk is ordinary but animated, a chariot race, a cousin's good luck, a rumour about a builder who undercut a rival's bid. Someone laughs, someone sighs. The city's pulse can be counted in these small measures. In the hush between two streets, you hear the scrape of a stylus on wax. A scribe, taking advantage of the cooler hour, writes by lamplight at a portable desk. His letters are neat and unhurried. Ink would bleed in this damp. Wax remembers. He pauses to warm the stylus between finger and thumb, then resumes, the narrow point, cutting and smoothing, cutting and smoothing. Not far away, a wall carries faded slogans from an election past, promises painted in red by hired hands, now pale as old roses and as ignored. Rome keeps what it can. Even neglect is a record. Bracketed by two doorways stands a small workshop. In the morning, it is loud with chisels and instruction. Tonight, it smells of stone dust and oil, and from within comes only the occasional ring of iron softly resettled on a hook. A face on a half-finished statue waits on its maker's return, features finding their way out of marble as if surfacing from water. A hammer lies where a hand left it. A lamp near the floor keeps its own small vigil. A patrol of vigiles passes, watchmen of the night, carrying lanterns that paint moving circles on the ground. Their sandals whisper in unison. One nods to a couple closing their store. Another taps a shutter gently, reminding the occupant to secure it against the late breeze. They are not soldiers, though some once were. They are the city's caretakers after dusk, and they know its temper in the hours when power sleeps. On the edge of a square, a small procession of householders pauses before a modest temple. They leave offerings at the steps, a pinch of salt, a little milk, a cake shaped by a careful hand. They murmur a few words, not pleading so much as greeting. The gods of Rome are many and close at hand. One meets them daily in gestures that are neither heavy nor light, simply practiced, like sweeping a threshold or washing a face. The Tiber sends up its breath, cool and river-sweet. On its surface a barge bumps a mooring post, then is still. A ferryman, done for the evening, coils a rope, stows a pole, and sits with his back to the gunwale. He looks at the sky the way a man watches his own hands, absorbed, familiar, grateful, without making a ceremony of it. He will ferry senators and stonecutters without distinction tomorrow. Tonight, he is simply a man with sore shoulders and a quiet view. By now the children are indoors. Somewhere above street level, a mother hums as she sets a lamp on a windowsill. The flame makes a circle of amber on her face, then steadies as she turns away. A scroll is unrolled on a low table. A grandfather traces a line of verse for a curious child. A dog circles 3 times before deciding that the same corner that was good yesterday is still good today. The ordinary repeats itself with small variations, and that is what makes living bearable. Walk a little farther, and the stones feel cooler beneath your steps. You notice someone watering a few potted herbs by dipping a cup into a bucket and letting it pour back slowly. There is basil and a small fig sapling in a clay pot and a sprig of something with a smell like pine and citrus together, perhaps rosemary. In a city of monuments, these are the private gardens people keep for themselves, the green that lets a family say yes to one more day. A cart lingers at the corner, its driver pausing to adjust the strap across his shoulder. The mule lowers its head, content to wait, and snorts softly as if answering the flute's melody. Behind a shutter, someone sharpens a knife with long, even strokes. The city is a chorus not of rehearsed parts, but of coincidences, each sound adding a thread to the fabric of the night. As you drift further, a lantern sways on a chain above an archway. Its light pools on the cobblestones, illuminating the worn grooves left by centuries of wheels. You place your foot in one of these tracks and realize how many lives have passed this same way. Each step tonight echoes with thousands of steps before it, each leaving a mark, each contributing to the silent memory of the city. The stones hold heat still, but less than before. You feel a coolness seeping upward, as though the earth itself exhales now that the sun has gone. Shadows deepen in alleyways, though never into menace. Rome at night is watchful, not hostile. A dog trots past, its collar jangling faintly, searching for scraps with the patience of one who knows this city as well as any citizen. In the distance, a temple glows softly. Its columns, tall and straight, appear to catch moonlight and hold it in their marble veins. A priest moves quietly across the steps, carrying a small lamp. He sets it near the altar, bows his head, and disappears again into the silence. The flame remains, a humble offering to the gods who, even at this hour, are thought to listen. Closer at hand, a woman balances a basket of figs against her hip, delivering them to a neighbor before the fruit grows too soft. She knocks gently at a door. It opens just enough for hands to reach out, to take the basket, to murmur thanks. The exchange lasts no more than a few heartbeats, but in those moments, trust and care flow as surely as any aqueduct. Another fountain appears, this one larger than the last. Water spills steadily into a broad basin, catching the moonlight so that it looks like liquid silver. A boy leans over its edge, gazing at his reflection. He dips a finger into the surface, ripples, spreading outward, until his face is transformed into waves and fragments. He laughs, though quietly, then runs off into the dark, leaving the fountain to resume its calm, endless task. As you walk, you realize that the city at night does not belong only to those who rule or build or record. It belongs also to these small lives, the baker and his boy, the laborers with their olives, the storyteller, the ferryman, the mother at the window. Each plays a part, and together they create a Rome more enduring than any edict or monument. The flute falls silent, replaced now by the low hum of voices behind a shutter. Perhaps a family speaks of tomorrow's chores. Perhaps someone reads a fragment of verse by lamplight. Perhaps silence itself has become their companion. You pass on, letting the mystery remain. The street narrows again, walls rising close on either side. Above, laundry lines sway with the night breeze, garments whispering as though they carry their own secrets. You glance upward and see a patch of sky framed between rooftops, stars like pinpricks of light sewn into a strip of deep cloth. The air here is cooler, touched by stone's shade, touched by memory. Finally, the path opens once more into a modest courtyard. Here, the night seems to gather and pause. Lamps burn lower, their flames tired but steady. A cat curls atop a stack of amphorae, eyes half closed, tail flicking idly. A man steps out of his doorway, stretches, and looks to the heavens. His lips move in a brief prayer, perhaps to Jupiter for protection, perhaps to his household spirits for peace. He lingers a moment longer, then retreats, closing the door softly behind him. And so, Rome exhales again. The noises diminish, but they do not vanish. They retreat into pockets, an occasional laugh, the trickle of water, the sigh of a mule at rest. These are not interruptions, but reassurances. The city breathes and its breath is steady, your walk slows. The stones under your feet, the lamps along the walls, the faces of gods carved in niches, all of it has led you here, to a rhythm that is unhurried, patient, enduring. In this rhythm, you are not only a visitor but a participant. You belong to the night as much as the night belongs to you. Let your body ease into this belonging. Let your thoughts soften, your breathing deepen. The streets of Rome at twilight have shown you their patterns, their lives, their quiet strength. Soon, we will step through a doorway and into the warmth of a Roman home. We will sit at its table, taste its food, and share in its rituals of evening. But not yet. For now, stand here in the hush of the courtyard, listening to the city breathe, watching its lamps fade, letting its calm become your own. Rome rests, and in resting, it welcomes you. Allow that welcome to settle upon you as gently as moonlight, and know that the night still stretches ahead, rich with stories, yet untold. Step now away from the cool streets of twilight and toward a doorway marked by bronze studs. The clamor of the city softens as you cross the threshold, leaving behind the hum of vendors, the splash of fountains and the shuffle of sandals on stone. A heavy door closes with a muted thud, and the stillness of the domus greets you. This Roman home, neither the palace of an aristocrat nor the cramped insula of the poor, belongs to a family of modest standing, citizens whose lives are shaped by order, tradition, and the quiet dignity of daily routine. The first breath you take is cooler, scented faintly with beeswax, olive oil, and dried herbs hanging from cords strung near the rafters. The air feels denser here, as though the house itself is holding its breath, attentive to your presence. Lamps burn steadily in niches along the wall, their flames flickering against plaster painted in reds and ochres. You stand in the atrium, the heart of the domus, and above you a square opening, the compluvium, frames a patch of sky. Through it, the night air drifts, mingling the outside world with the ordered space within. When rain falls, it gathers in the impluvium below, a shallow basin in the center of the floor. Tonight, no rain disturbs the surface. Instead, the water reflects lamplight in shifting ripples, casting a soft shimmer against the surrounding walls. The atrium is more than architecture. It is a statement. Frescoes decorate its sides, painted gardens that stretch upward into illusions of depth. Birds with outstretched wings seem to glide across plaster skies, while painted vines curl endlessly into corners. These are not grand works like those in a senator's villa, but they are crafted with skill, meant to remind the family of abundance even when seasons are lean. The floor beneath your feet is a mosaic of tiny stones arranged into patterns, waves, dolphins, curling tendrils of ivy. Each tile was laid by hand, patient work that transformed fragments into harmony. You pause for a moment, considering how such artistry becomes part of daily life, walked across without thought, yet always present. A faint sound reaches you from deeper in the house, the low murmur of voices, the occasional clink of clay against wood, and the rich smell of roasted fish carried by the draught. The family is gathering for their evening meal, but before you move toward them, linger here in the atrium and notice its details. Against one wall stands a small chest, used to store family documents, tokens, perhaps a few coins. On another side hangs a bronze mirror, polished to brightness though imperfect, its surface warping reflections into gentle distortions. A lampstand holds a terracotta figure of a goddess, her features softened by time and touch. A servant passes quietly, carrying a jug cradled against his arm. His tunic is plain, his step steady, his eyes lowered in practiced respect. He moves like one accustomed to invisibility, yet his presence holds the house together. It is through hands like his that the lamps remain lit, the food prepared, the walls swept, the children tended. In Rome, slavery is the silent engine of the household, a truth neither hidden nor celebrated, but accepted as fact. The servant vanishes through a side doorway, leaving only the faint echo of his footsteps. Near the impluvium, a child's toy rests abandoned, a small wooden cart with wheels carved unevenly, its cord frayed at the end. Perhaps a boy played here earlier, dragging it across the mosaic waves before being called to wash for supper. The toy remains as a quiet trace of life lived in fragments, as much a part of this house as the frescoes and lamps. You notice it? Then let it be, for even small objects here seem to belong to the silence. As you continue deeper, you pass beneath an arch into a narrow corridor. Along the walls hang garlands of garlic and bunches of herbs, thyme, rosemary, bay, drying in the air, their scents mingling into a sharp, earthy perfume. Clay amphorae rest in alcoves sealed with wax and pitch, holding oil and wine brought from distant provinces. Each amphora is marked with symbols, telling where it came from, who carried it, what season it was sealed. These jars are more than vessels. They are threads in the empire's vast web, proof that even this modest family is tied to the farthest edges of Roman reach. The corridor opens again into a small peristyle garden, open to the sky. Here vines climb a trellis, and a fig tree bends beneath the weight of fruit nearly ripe. A narrow path of stone leads between planted beds of herbs and flowers. By day this space is filled with light and bird call. By night it is quieter, touched only by the chirp of insects and the faint glow of stars overhead. A clay statue of a faun chipped at the nose watches from the corner, a playful guardian over the garden's stillness. The water of a small fountain gurgles softly into a basin, its voice gentle, unhurried, timeless. You pause here for a moment. The domus, unlike the insulae that crowd much of Rome, holds space not only for walls but for air and light. This open garden reminds its inhabitants of nature, even in the heart of a city of stone. You breathe more deeply, noticing how the scents shift: fresh earth, green leaves, faint sweetness of figs. The city outside feels far away, though it lies only beyond these walls. From deeper in the house comes the father's voice, steady and low, calling for the children to join him. The words are simple, but the tone carries authority softened by affection. Another voice, the mother's, replies, gentler still. A door slides open, wood against stone, and footsteps patter across the floor. The family gathers, and you are drawn to follow. Though the garden's calm tempts you to linger, as you return through the corridor, the sound of a flute drifts faintly from outside, someone in the street, playing for coins or perhaps only for the night itself. The music filters in like a memory, distant but present, blending with the quiet rhythms of the house. You step again into the atrium and find it subtly changed. Lamps burn lower, casting shadows that stretch and tremble across the painted walls. The impluvium's reflection has deepened, its water dark and glass-like, mirroring both firelight and a patch of sky where stars slowly emerge. It is time to join the family. Through an open doorway, you glimpse them reclining on couches around a small table. Platters of bread and bowls of olives await. The children whisper among themselves, eyes bright with anticipation. A servant adjusts a lamp, raising its flame. The mother lifts a fig from a dish, her hand graceful and unhurried. The father leans back, gesturing for the first course to begin. You step softly into the room, carrying with you the impressions of the atrium, the garden, the corridors, and the silent labor that makes this home what it is. Rome outside may thunder with ambition and empire, but here, inside the domus, life arranges itself in smaller, steadier rhythms, rituals of food, conversation, and care. Tonight, you are a guest, not in history's chronicle of power, but in its quiet chapter of family. And as you take your place among them, the evening unfolds like a story told in lamplight, measured, patient, eternal. You step softly into the triclinium, the dining room of the house. The air is warmer here, filled with the smell of bread, olives, roasted fish, and wine. Lamps are placed along the walls, their flames steady, bathing the room in a glow that softens shadows and makes the painted frescoes seem almost alive. Along the walls, garlands of ivy trail downward, dried from the last festival yet left in place to honor tradition. The family reclines on low couches arranged around a central table. The father, in a tunic of plain white, gestures for the meal to begin. His wife sits beside him, her hands folded for a moment in quiet reflection before she reaches for bread. Two children wait at the far side, their eyes bright, struggling to contain their hunger. A servant approaches, laying before them the first course, baskets of bread and bowls of olives glistening in their oil. The servant moves with quiet precision, refilling cups, adjusting the lamps, ensuring all flows without interruption. The father breaks a piece of bread and offers it first to his wife, then to his children before taking his own. The gesture is small, but it carries meaning. The family eats together, bound by custom as much as by appetite. The olives are sharp, briny, their taste grounding after a long day. Each bite seems to carry the memory of sun and salt, of distant groves tended by unseen hands. Soon, platters of cheese appear, some soft, some harder, crumbled into pieces. Their aroma fills the room, mingling with the sweet scent of figs sliced open to reveal their crimson hearts. The mother arranges them neatly on a plate, her fingers quick, practiced, graceful. She offers them to the children, who take them with eager hands. For them, the sweetness of figs is more than taste. It is celebration. The main dish arrives, fish roasted with herbs, its skin crisp, its flesh tender. It is seasoned with garum, the fermented sauce so beloved by Romans that it is said no table is complete without it. The smell is strong, sharp to some, yet to Roman tongues it is the essence of flavor. The father tastes first, nodding with satisfaction. He lifts his cup, and the servant fills it with wine, diluted with water in the proper ratio. To drink it neat would be crude, a mark of excess. In moderation, it is a comfort, a companion to conversation. The children murmur to each other, their voices soft beneath the steady rhythm of the meal. The eldest, a boy of perhaps 12, recites a line from Homer, his Greek careful, though halting. The father listens with patience, correcting a word gently, then praising his effort. The younger child, restless, toys with a small wooden figure at the edge of the couch, half listening, half dreaming. Their mother smiles faintly, content to let the moment unfold. The talk drifts to matters of the day. The father speaks of grain brought up river, the fluctuation of prices, the rumor of a senator's speech. The mother shares news of a neighbor's child, now recovering from illness after days of worry. The children add their own voices, recounting small dramas, an argument over a toy, a lesson learned at school, a stray dog that followed them for half the afternoon. Each story is received with the same weight, for in this room the empire is not measured by provinces or legions, but by the shared rhythm of family. The servant pours more wine. The liquid falls with a soft sound like rainwater into a basin. The flame of a lamp sputters briefly, then steadies. The fish is eaten slowly, each bite savoured. The family does not rush. Outside, Rome may surge with ambition, but here, within these painted walls, time moves differently. It flows like the Tiber at night, steady, unhurried, unshakable. Between courses, conversation shifts to memory. The mother recalls the last festival of Saturnalia, when servants and masters exchanged roles, laughter spilling from every doorway. The father recalls his youth travelling once with his father to a distant province, the sea stretching endlessly before him. His voice carries both pride and wistfulness, as though the memory itself is a companion at the table. The children listen wide-eyed, imagining distant lands they may never see, yet feeling them close through his words. The next course is lighter, boiled eggs sprinkled with herbs, a plate of lentils seasoned with coriander and onion. These humble dishes balance the richness of what came before, completing the harmony of flavors. The eldest child reaches for an egg, peeling it clumsily, smiling as the shell cracks unevenly. The father chuckles, recalling his own childhood clumsiness. In such small exchanges, the weight of empire disappears, replaced by the simple continuity of life. The servant clears the table quietly, gathering empty dishes and stacking them with care. He places before the family a final course, fruit and honey. Grapes, still clinging to their stems, are passed around. Nuts are cracked open, their shells falling softly onto the floor. Honey drips from a comb, golden and slow, catching the lamplight as it falls onto a plate. The youngest child dips a finger into it, earning a gentle correction from his mother, though her smile betrays amusement. This last sweetness lingers, prolonging the evening. Cups are filled once more, this time with spiced wine, warmed gently to release its aroma. Cinnamon and cloves, rare treasures carried from distant lands, perfume the air. The father raises his cup, offering thanks not with a speech, but with a simple nod to his family, to the gods, to the moment itself. Each drinks in turn, and the room settles into contentment. In the glow of the lamps, faces soften. The day's burdens have fallen away. What remains is presence, bread, wine, voices, laughter, the comfort of belonging. These are the elements of Rome that endure not in monuments or battles, but in houses like this, repeated countless times across the city. Here, history becomes intimate, woven into gestures so ordinary they are almost invisible, yet they are the fabric of civilization itself. As the meal draws toward its close, the children grow quieter. Their eyelids grow heavy, their words trail into murmurs. The eldest stifles a yawn, though he tries to hide it. The father smiles knowingly, resting a hand on his son's shoulder. The mother reaches for the last piece of bread, breaking it into smaller portions, offering them to those who still wish for a final bite. The servant refills cups one last time, then steps back into the shadows, allowing the family their closeness. And so the cena, the evening meal, comes to an end, not with applause or proclamation, but with gentle satisfaction. The table holds fewer dishes now, but more than food has been shared. Stories, laughter, and silence have mingled, binding the family together as surely as any law binds the empire. Outside, the night deepens. Inside, the domus glows with warmth, a sanctuary against the vastness of the city. You sit with them, a guest in their moment, and feel the weight of history lighten. For all its power and ambition, Rome is built not only on conquest, but on meals such as these. Quiet, steady, enduring. The family reclines a little longer, speaking softly, holding on to the comfort of the evening. Soon they will rise and turn to their nightly rituals. But for now, the meal is complete, and peace lingers in the room like the fading glow of a lamp. The table has been cleared, dishes stacked neatly, the last drops of wine drained from clay cups. The air in the triclinium grows still, touched only by the fading warmth of lamps. The family lingers for a time, voices soft, movements unhurried. The meal has nourished more than the body. It has woven the evening into calm harmony, and now the household turns toward its closing rituals. The eldest son rises and carries a small tray toward the lararium, the shrine to the household gods. It rests in a niche near the atrium, decorated with painted symbols and tiny figures of the Lares and Penates. Their forms are simple, yet their presence is powerful, guardians of hearth and home. A fresh wick is lit, its flame catching with a quiet hiss, and the glow spreads across the little alcove. A piece of bread is placed there, along with a fig and a small cup of wine. These offerings are humble, but they carry the weight of devotion, connecting this family with generations before them who made the same gestures, whispered the same prayers. The father stands behind his son, reciting words of thanks. His voice is steady but not stern. The tone is one of gratitude rather than command. He thanks the spirits for the day's protection, for the food, for the health of the household. He asks for rest through the night and guidance for the day to come. The children bow their heads, not fully understanding each word, but absorbing the rhythm, the importance of pause and reverence. The mother touches the shoulder of her youngest, gently reminding him to stay still, and he nods, his wide eyes fixed on the flickering flame. When the prayer is complete, silence lingers for a few breaths. The shrine glows softly, the offerings resting in its light, as if the gods themselves have settled to watch over the sleeping house. The father places a hand on his son's shoulder, then guides him back to the couches. The ritual has ended, but the peace it brings remains. The children are led to their chamber, a small room with low beds and woven blankets. They curl together, whispering a few last words before sleep begins to claim them. The eldest insists on repeating the Homeric line he practiced earlier, stumbling over a phrase, then laughing quietly. His father nods approvingly from the doorway, reminding him that knowledge comes little by little, like the steady filling of a jar. The mother smooths the blanket across them, her hand lingering just long enough to calm their restless shifting. Their eyes close, their breathing steadies, and the room grows quiet. Elsewhere in the domus, servants finish their final tasks. One extinguishes a lamp in the corridor, another secures the shutters against the night breeze. Their movements are practiced, their silence respectful. Soon, they too will retreat to their quarters, their day as long as the family's, yet ending without ceremony. The father and mother remain in the atrium for a few moments longer. They speak in hushed tones, not of politics or trade, but of small things, the health of a neighbor, the progress of their children, the rising cost of oil for lamps. These conversations, ordinary yet intimate, form the foundation of their shared life. They lean against the edge of the impluvium, watching the water ripple faintly with the glow of the lamps. It reflects their faces in soft fragments, reminding them of the fragile, fleeting beauty of each day. At last, they too retire to their chamber. The atrium empties, leaving only the murmuring water and the shrine's quiet flame. The house exhales, its tasks complete, its voices at rest. You remain for a moment longer, standing in the center of the atrium. The silence is not empty, it is full, layered with memory, ritual, presence. The impluvium gleams darkly, holding the reflections of lamps nearly burned down to their oil. The frescoes on the walls seem gentler now, vines and birds, softened by the dimness. The air carries the faint smell of herbs and smoke, comforting in its familiarity. This is the domus at night, a place of order, of family, of continuity. Outside, Rome still stirs. Taverns still hum with laughter, the river still carries its barges, the streets are still watched by lanterns. But here, within these walls, the night belongs to stillness. The gods are honored, the children sleep, the lamps burn low. The house, like the city, finds its rhythm in rest, and so you step softly away, carrying with you the warmth of the meal, the voices of the family, the glow of the shrine. You leave the domus behind, yet its calm lingers, a memory already shaping itself into dream. Ahead lies the city once more, the baths, the taverns, the streets under starlight. But for now, as you walk back into the Roman night, you carry with you the peace of a home at rest. The street bends, and you follow the sound of water before you even see the source. At first, it is only the faintest splash, then laughter, then the deeper murmur of many voices rising together, carried on the evening air. Torches glow ahead, their flames licking at iron brackets fastened into stone walls. The light spills across the pavement, revealing a wide portico, its columns tall and firm against the night sky. You have arrived at the Thermae, the Roman public baths, a place as essential to the life of this city as the forum or the market. Step closer and notice how alive the entrance feels. Families gather near the doorway, men greeting one another with clasped hands, servants hurrying forward with baskets of towels and small clay jars of oil. A boy sells roasted nuts from a tray balanced against his hip, his call almost lost in the chorus of voices. Two older men debate in low tones, gesturing with pointed fingers, as though the Senate itself had simply shifted to the steps of this building. The stone beneath your feet is worn smooth by thousands who have walked here before, their daily routines funneling into this place where private and public life entwine. Passing beneath the portico, you feel the shift at once. The air inside is warmer, touched by steam and the mingling scents of oil, sweat, and fresh herbs. The vestibule opens wide, its walls painted with rivers and fountains, nymphs carrying urns from which painted water seems to pour. Neptune dominates one panel crowned in seashells, his trident raised as dolphins leap at his side. Even before the first drop of real water touches you, the building declares itself a temple to cleansing and renewal. The floor is stone, polished by the tread of countless sandals. Lamps set into bronze brackets burn with steady light, their glow made soft by the thin haze of vapor drifting in from deeper chambers. The sound is everywhere, echoes of laughter, of water splashing, of conversations in tones both urgent and lazy. You pause, letting the atmosphere wash over you. To step into the baths is to step into the bloodstream of Rome, to feel how the city sustains itself, not only with laws and roads, but with rituals of the body and the spirit. You move now into the apoditerium, the changing hall. It is large, lined with niches where visitors leave their clothes. Attendants wait here, watching carefully as men undress and hand over their tunics, belts, and sandals. Wooden benches line the space, and the rustle of fabric mixes with the clink of buckles, the slap of sandals on stone. Voices rise in friendly challenge, one man boasting of his strength, another laughing at his own bad luck in dice. The attendants, often slaves or freedmen, take each garment with quiet precision, storing it with practiced memory. For a few coins slipped into the palm, they will guard a man's belongings with extra care. For theft is not unknown even here, along one wall. Frescoes tell stories to remind bathers of the greater world beyond. Hercules wrestles a lion, his body painted in impossible strength. Venus rises from the sea, surrounded by doves. Apollo strums a lyre, his music captured in the curve of his painted hands. These images are not decoration alone, they instruct the visitor. To bathe is not merely to cleanse the body, but to join the company of heroes and gods, to renew oneself in the pattern of strength, beauty, and harmony. Through one arch, you glimpse the frigidarium, the cold room. The pool there lies like black glass beneath the torches, its surface broken only when a man dives with a sharp breath, his gasp echoing against marble. The water closes around him, and he emerges moments later, his skin shining, his hair slick against his brow. Children, braver than their elders, leap from the edge with shrieks, splashing each other, their playfulness tolerated as part of the evening's energy. Columns rise around the pool, supporting a ceiling painted deep blue, dotted with golden stars. Even indoors, the illusion of the night sky accompanies you. Another passage leads into the tepidarium, the warm room. As you step inside, the air thickens, wrapping around you like a cloak. Heat seeps upward from the floor itself, carried by the hypocausts, those ingenious channels beneath the stone where hot air from furnaces is guided through the building. The effect is subtle yet steady, the very ground beneath your feet alive with warmth. Walls gleam with polished plaster, their surfaces reflecting the lamplight in soft golden hues. Benches line the sides, and here men sit quietly, their bodies adjusting to the heat, their muscles loosening after the chill of the frigidarium. Listen closely. The room hums, not with loud debate, but with murmured exchanges. A merchant speaks to a customer about shipments delayed on the Tiber. A scholar explains a line of poetry to his student, his voice calm despite the haze of steam. Two old friends sit shoulder to shoulder, their words few, their silence comfortable. The steam makes the outlines of their bodies blur, softening them into shapes more dream than flesh. In the tepidarium, time itself seems to slow, each moment stretching, unhurried, like the drift of vapor in the air. You pause near a marble basin where a boy rubs oil into his father's back, the liquid glistening beneath the lamplight. The father's eyes close, his shoulders easing under the boy's steady hands. A servant arrives with a strigil, a curved metal scraper, ready to remove the oil and with it the dust and sweat of the day. The scrape is firm but not harsh, a rhythm of renewal repeated countless times in countless bodies. Around you, this ritual unfolds in many variations, each man reclaiming his own strength through touch, warmth, and the presence of others. For a moment, you lift your gaze upward. The ceiling here is vaulted, its height magnified by painted illusions of arches stretching into sky. Lamps hang from chains, their flames trembling in the rising steam. Water drips steadily from the ceiling, falling into the basins below with sounds that are almost musical. The bathhouse was built not only for function, but for grandeur. To enter it is to remember that Rome commands not only armies and provinces, but water, fire, and stone itself. A senator passes by, his tunic already damp with heat, and he greets a soldier recently returned from campaign. Their clasp is firm, their laughter genuine. For a few moments their differences dissolve. Here, stripped of armor and robes, they are simply men, sharing warmth, speaking freely. The bathhouse is an equalizer, a place where the empire's divisions soften in steam and sweat. Not erased, never erased, but softened. At the far end of the tepidarium, a wide doorway opens into the caldarium, the hottest chamber of all. Even from here, you feel its breath, a wave of heat, heavy with vapor. Shadows of men ripple against the stone walls beyond, their movements slow and deliberate. Pools gleam in the haze, promising both intensity and release. But you are not yet ready to enter. The rhythm of the baths demands patience, a journey taken step by step. So linger here, in the warmth of the tepidarium, Let your breathing deepen, your shoulders ease. Around you, voices continue, but softer now, as though the heat itself tempers them. A man chuckles quietly, another sighs with contentment, a child laughs from the frigidarium behind. The layers of sound merge into something like music, bass notes of water, treble of laughter, rhythm of footsteps on wet stone. This is the bathhouse at its threshold, where the city gathers before plunging into its deeper rituals. You stand at the edge of transformation, prepared for the plunge, but still within the embrace of warmth and community. The Therme holds you now, its walls echoing with centuries, its stones heavy with memory, its waters waiting to draw you further inward. The journey has only begun. Step now into the caldarium, the chamber of heat. The moment you cross its threshold, the air strikes you like a living force. It is heavy, thick with steam clinging to your skin and filling your lungs. The warmth seeps deep, loosening muscles, quickening the heart. The ceiling above curves in a great dome, its plaster painted in reds and golds that glimmer faintly through the haze. Lamps burn along the walls, their flames distorted into halos by the vapor. The floor is warm beneath your feet, heated by the hypocaust system that channels fire and smoke through the hollow spaces below. Every stone you step on is alive with hidden fire. In the center of the chamber lies the great pool, its surface blurred by steam, its edges lined with marble steps. Men lower themselves slowly, sighing as the heat envelops them. Some sit shoulder deep, heads tilted back, eyes closed, letting the water cradle them into stillness. Others lean forward, elbows on knees, speaking in quiet tones that ripple like the water itself. The sound here is different than in the cooler rooms. Voices are hushed, laughter softened. The dominant note is the constant whisper of steam, escaping through unseen vents, rising in endless sighs. It is as though the chamber itself breathes and you are breathing with it. The heat makes the world smaller, closer, intimate. Sweat beads on foreheads, runs down arms, mingles with the pool. The bath is both purification and surrender. On one side, a man rubs oil onto his arms, the liquid glistening briefly before the heat absorbs it. Another waits with a strigil, ready to scrape away the oil along with the dust of the day. The motion is slow but thorough, metal against skin producing a faint rasp that seems almost soothing in its rhythm. The body emerges clean, renewed, as though the very layers of labor and worry have been peeled away. A boy assists his father with the task, his small hands steady, his face serious. In his gaze you see more than duty. You see initiation, the passing down of customs older than memory. Elsewhere, a pair of merchants speak in low voices, their heads bent close. The heat has loosened not only their bodies, but their tongues. Business is conducted here, as much as in the forum. Deals are considered, partnerships weighed, rumors traded. But all of it is softened by the atmosphere. There are no tablets or scribes, only words drifting in steam, agreements sealed with nods and smiles. For in this place trust is forged not in parchment but in presence. A soldier enters, his frame scarred from campaigns. He lowers himself into the pool, the hot water closing over wounds, long healed but still remembered. An older man beside him nods in respect, and they exchange a few words, simple, direct, yet weighted. The soldier's eyes soften, his posture eases. The bathhouse is not only for the clean and the strong. It is for the weary, for the tested, for those who carry the empire in their flesh. Here, even a veteran finds release. After the heat has worked its way deep into the body, bathers rise and move to the sudatorium, the steam room. Smaller, darker, its air even heavier, it presses against the skin like a second body. Men sit on benches along the walls, their outlines barely visible through the fog. Conversation here dwindles further. The room demands silence. Sweat pours freely, dripping from chins, running down backs, gathering in rivulets on the floor. It is the climax of purification, the body surrendering what it no longer needs, the spirit lightened in turn. When the heat becomes too much, the journey turns outward again. Men pass back into the tepidarium to balance themselves, then into the frigidarium for renewal. The shock of cold water after so much heat is almost violent. A man plunges into the pool, his gasp echoing against marble. For a heartbeat, his body stiffens, then relaxes as the chill steadies him. Others follow, some wading slowly, others leaping in with reckless laughter. Children splash at the edges, delighting in the contrast, their shrieks breaking through the solemnity. The cold is more than sensation, it is awakening. After the softness of heat, the bite of cold returns the world to clarity. This cycle, hot, steam, warm, cold, is the rhythm of the baths. Each man takes it in his own order, his own measure, but always the same arc. Tension released, strength renewed, the body reset. It is at once personal and communal. Each bather follows his own path, yet all are bound together in the same ritual, moving like dancers in an unspoken choreography. Between plunges, men oil their bodies once more, massaging weary limbs, scraping with strigils until the skin gleams. The smell of olive oil fills the chamber, mingled with herbs, thyme, rosemary, mint, sometimes added to the mixtures for freshness. The scraping, the rubbing, the plunging, these acts are not luxuries but necessities. In a city of dust and labor, of crowded streets and endless tasks, this is how Romans keep themselves whole. You watch as an old philosopher, his beard silver, speaks to a small circle of younger men. He gestures lightly, his hand tracing arcs through the steam. His words are calm, deliberate, more teaching than conversation. The younger men nod, listening intently, their bodies glowing with sweat, their attention sharpened by the extremes of heat and cold. The bathhouse is not only for the flesh, it is for the mind. Wisdom is passed here as naturally as oil across skin, absorbed without ceremony. From another corner comes the low sound of a flute, played softly by a boy sitting near the steps. His notes rise and fall, simple and patient, threading through the steam. They do not compete with the murmurs and splashes, but drift alongside them, as if the room itself invited music to join its chorus. A few men glance toward him, smiling faintly, letting the melody settle into their breath. The baths, already a sanctuary, take on the air of a temple. Time becomes strange in these chambers. Minutes stretch, measured not by clocks but by the cycles of heat and cold, by the scrape of strigils, by the rise and fall of voices. You cannot say how long you have lingered, only that the body feels lighter, the mind clearer. The bathhouse, through its careful sequence, has reshaped you. When at last you step back into the tepidarium, the warmth feels gentle, almost cool compared to what you have endured. Men recline here, their bodies glistening, their voices calm. A servant moves among them with a tray of small cups filled with spiced wine, the scent of cinnamon drifting briefly through the steam. Another carries towels, offering them to those ready to rise. The rhythm of the baths is not hurried. Each man decides when he is finished, when his body has received enough, when his spirit is steady again. The ritual of bathing is complete, not in a single act, but in this slow unfolding, entering heat, surrendering to it, embracing cold, returning to balance. It is a dialogue between body and water, between self and community. To miss a step would be to miss the fullness of the gift. Rome knows this, and so it builds its thermae not merely as places of washing, but as sanctuaries of rhythm, order, and renewal. As you sit once more on the marble bench, your skin still tingling, your breath steady, you realize that the baths are not separate from the city. They are Rome itself, distilled into walls of stone, air of steam, pools of water, voices of men. Here the empire cleanses itself every night, and tomorrow it will begin again. For now you rest in its embrace, a guest in this timeless ritual, and prepare to move outward once more, into the spaces where social life awaits. The heat has passed, the water has cooled on your skin, and now you step into the final rhythm of the evening. Beyond the tepidarium lies a hall that is neither hot nor cold, but alive with voices, light, and the scent of spiced wine. This is the social heart of the baths, the place where bodies refreshed give way to minds awakened. Benches line the walls, some of marble, others of plain wood, polished smooth by use. Men recline in easy postures, towels draped loosely across their shoulders, cups in hand. A servant moves quietly among them, refilling vessels with wine diluted to the proper strength. The aroma carries hints of honey and herbs, a comfort against the lingering steam. Here, conversations flow as freely as the water once did. Merchants compare the price of grain, weighing the effects of weather upriver. Scholars lean close, disputing a point of philosophy, their hands cutting lines through the air as though arguments were written in gesture. Politicians speak in guarded tones, eyes shifting, their voices lowered even in this space of leisure. For them, the baths are not escape but extension, a softer chamber of the same endless debates. At one corner of the hall, a small group plays dice on the floor. The cubes clatter against stone, followed by bursts of laughter and groans of disappointment. The game is simple, yet in it resides the thrill of chance, the same thrill that drives Rome's ambition. An older man watches, shaking his head with mock disapproval, though his eyes gleam with memory of youthful wagers. Children, their energy still unspent, chase one another along the edges of the hall. Their bare feet slap against the floor, their laughter ringing bright. No one silences them. In their freedom lies a reminder of what this place is, not only a house of cleansing, but a sanctuary of life in its many stages. Along the far wall stands a library alcove, shelves holding scrolls donated by wealthy patrons. A few men linger there, unrolling texts by lamplight, reading aloud in measured tones. Their words mix with the hum of the hall, fragments of poetry and history woven into the night. To learn, to debate, to dream. These too are part of bathing, for the Romans believed that the mind deserves as much renewal as the body. The air grows cooler as servants extinguish lamps one by one. The crowd thins. Some linger in conversation, others drift toward the doors, their sandals echoing lightly against the stone. Outside the night awaits, starlight catching on the Tiber, the city breathing in its vastness. You follow, passing once more through the vestibule. The frescoes of Neptune and the nymphs seem different now, not grand, but familiar, as though you carry a piece of their calm within you. The boy selling roasted nuts has gone, his place empty, the embers of his brazier fading. The street beyond feels quieter, though it is still alive with the murmurs of Rome. The bathhouse fades behind you, its steam and warmth left within its walls. Yet the sense of renewal lingers, skin tingling, breath easy, mind unburdened. You have walked through fire and water, through silence and laughter, through the company of strangers who became companions in ritual. This is the gift of the Thermae. Not merely cleansing, not merely leisure, but communion. A city of millions finds in its baths a single rhythm, a nightly reminder that to live is not only to labor, but to rest, to share, to begin again, and so you step back into the Roman night. The stars clear above, the streets cooled by evening air. Ahead lie taverns, theatres, and quiet alleys, each with its own story. But within you the memory of the baths remains, a warmth deeper than water, a calm stronger than stone. Let it stay with you as you walk on, carrying Rome's rhythm into the darkness, into rest. The echoes of the baths fade behind you, and in their place another sound rises, low at first, then swelling as you follow its pull. It is the sound of thousands of voices layered together, a roar that comes and goes like the tide. Laughter, cheers, gasps, the hollow boom of drums. You follow narrow streets that twist and turn until suddenly the space opens wide and the source reveals itself. The amphitheatre, Rome's grand stage of blood and spectacle. Even before you step inside, the energy surrounds you. The building looms against the night sky, its tiers of arches rising in rhythm, lit by torches set high in iron brackets. Smoke drifts upward, a faint haze against the stars. Vendors cluster outside the gates, their cries filling the air. Figs, fresh figs! Wine, cool wine. Roasted chickpeas, nuts, almonds. Children weave between legs, clutching coins, their faces bright with anticipation. Soldiers keep order at the entrances, their helmets catching the firelight, their spears tapping the stone with measured patience. Yet the crowd is not unruly. It surges forward with eagerness, drawn by something larger than itself. Step now through one of the great arches, and the night changes. The corridor is dim, lit by lamps set into recesses. The smell of damp stone mingles with oil smoke and the iron tang of blood carried on the air. Your footsteps echo as you move with the press of bodies, sandals slapping against stone. The walls are etched with graffiti, names of champions, crude drawings of victories, prayers scrawled for survival. Every inch of this space hums with memory. At last the passage opens into the arena itself, and the sight is overwhelming. Before you lies an oval of pale sand, its surface already scuffed and darkened by combat. Around it rise the tiers of seats, climbing higher and higher, filled with faces. Lamps and braziers set along the walls cast a golden glow, throwing shadows that leap and shift with the crowd's movements. The noise is deafening yet alive, rolling across the amphitheatre in waves that strike the sand below. For a moment you stand still, letting the enormity of it press against your senses. The crowd is a tapestry of Rome itself. Senators sit near the front, their white togas with purple borders marking their rank, their expressions composed, but their eyes sharp with interest. Merchants in fine cloaks lean forward eagerly, shouting wages to their neighbours. Craftsmen, shopkeepers, freedmen, labourers, and the poor fill the middle and upper tiers, their cheers the loudest, their excitement the rawest. Here, in this space, divisions blur. The emperor himself may preside, or a wealthy patron may host the games, but the voices of the people rise together, no one excluded. For a few hours, Rome is one body, one heartbeat. On the sand below, two gladiators circle each other. Their armor gleams in the torchlight. One wears the broad helmet and rectangular shield of the Murmillo, sword poised to strike. The other, a retiarius, carries only a trident and net, his face exposed, his steps lighter, his strategy built on speed. They move with deliberate care, testing, feinting, each waiting for the other to reveal weakness. The crowd leans forward as one. When the Murmillo lunges, shield crashing forward, the retiarius leaps back, casting his net with a sudden sweep. The mesh sails wide, missing its mark, and 1,000 voices erupt in laughter, in groans, in shouted advice. The Murmillo presses, sword flashing, but the retiarius slips aside, his trident striking the shield with a clang that rings across the arena. The sound is pure theatre. Iron against iron, and the crowd roars. Not all in the arena is combat. Between matches, performers take the sand. Acrobats tumble through hoops lit with fire, their shadows bending and breaking across the walls. Musicians play pipes and drums, their rhythms quick, bright, pulling the audience into clapping hands and stamping feet. Dancers whirl in coloured robes, their movements fluid, their bodies catching the lamplight in flashes. Children point, their eyes wide, their laughter clear above the din. The amphitheatre is not only a place of blood, It is a theatre of life, weaving danger and delight into one unbroken performance. Nearby, a father tells his son the story of a famous champion who once stood where the fighters now clash. His voice carries upward, retelling the tale of a man who defeated 5 opponents in a single day, who earned the wooden sword of freedom, who walked out of the arena no longer a slave, but a citizen. Around them, others tell their own stories, weaving the past into the present, ensuring that memory itself is part of the spectacle. For the amphitheatre is not just a stage of combat, it is a vessel of history, holding layer upon layer of victories, deaths, and legends. Notice, too, the moments of silence. When a gladiator stumbles to his knees, when blood stains the sand, when the fight teeters on the edge of decision, the crowd stills. Thousands of voices fall quiet, waiting. All eyes turn to the sponsor of the games, or, in the grandest shows, to the emperor himself. A hand is raised, thumb extended. The decision of life or death rests on that gesture. The silence is absolute. Then the hand moves, and the amphitheatre erupts once more. Cheers of mercy or cries for execution. Both accepted, both demanded, both woven into the night's rhythm. You glance upward through the open roof, and the stars gaze down, cold and eternal. For the Romans they are not distant, they are signs, gods themselves, watching the struggles below. To fight here is not only to survive or to die. It is to join the language of the cosmos, to have one's fate written in the sky. The sand stains darker as the night wears on. Victories are cheered, losses mourned, though not for long. The games move ever forward, the appetite of the crowd insatiable. Yet there is joy too, shouts of triumph when a favourite survives, laughter when an acrobat stumbles and bows with exaggerated grace, applause when music rises in sudden beauty. This is Rome's paradox, brutality and delight side by side, celebrated with equal fervour. As the final match of the night concludes, the crowd begins to rise, stretching limbs, calling for one last drink, gathering children who have fallen asleep on stone benches. The amphitheatre empties slowly, its echoes lingering long after the people have gone. You step once more into the corridor, the graffiti on the walls glowing faintly in lamplight. The smell of oil and iron clings to you, the roar of the crowd still pulsing in your ears. When you emerge into the street, the night air feels cooler, the stars sharper. Behind you, the amphitheatre still glows with torchlight, its great arches like open mouths releasing smoke and sound. Ahead, quieter alleys lead toward theatres, taverns, and music halls. Rome does not end when the games are finished. It shifts, it transforms, offering new rhythms, new voices, new ways to spend the night, and you walk on, carrying with you the memory of the sand, the shine of armour, the swell of voices united in joy and terror alike. The amphitheatre has given you its gift, not only the sight of struggle, but the reminder that Rome lives as much in its spectacles as in its temples, as much in its roars as in its silences. Tonight you have stood among thousands, and yet you carry the memory alone. This is the paradox of spectacle. It binds you to the crowd, then sends you away changed, carrying within you the echo of Rome's restless heart. The roar of the amphitheatre still hums in your chest as you step into quieter streets. Rome shifts here, its energy softening, its rhythms changing. Ahead, another gathering place glows with lamplight, the theatre. Unlike the arena's thunder, this place hums with a gentler excitement, the anticipation of words, of song, of movement. The crowd flows toward it, not in a rush but in steady waves, voices carrying snatches of conversation, laughter and expectation. The theatre rises in a semicircle of stone, open to the sky. Torches line the entrances, their flames mirrored in polished bronze shields hung along the walls. Vendors linger near the gates, offering dates, figs, and nuts in paper packets. Their voices softer than those outside the amphitheatre, but insistent all the same. Musicians warm their instruments in corners, pipes trilling softly, strings plucked in slow, thoughtful phrases. It is not the chaos of combat you feel here, but a gathering of attention, a readiness for stories. Step inside, and the world rearranges itself. The semicircular rows rise upward, carved from stone, curving in a perfect arc around the orchestra and stage. The audience settles in, some leaning back against the stone, others shifting for comfort. The murmur of voices blends into a single hum, punctuated by bursts of laughter. Lamps flicker in niches along the walls, their glow steady, softened by the night air. Overhead, stars scatter across the sky, and the moon drifts slowly above, as though it too has come to watch. The play begins with the sound of a flute, clear and bright. Actors step forward, their masks painted in bold lines that catch the lamplight, their gestures broad so that even the farthest eyes may see. They speak in voices trained to carry, their words crafted in rhythm, measured, rising and falling like waves. The audience leans forward, drawn into the story, not only by the plot, but by the power of performance itself. In Rome, theatre is not luxury, but necessity. It is a mirror, showing the people their own hopes, their own follies, their own longings. The comedy unfolds, and laughter ripples across the seats. A clever slave outwits his master, a braggart soldier boasts beyond reason, a young lover despairs and delights in turns. The crowd responds to every gesture, every pause, every exaggeration. Children giggle, elders chuckle, voices rise in approval or in knowing groans. The humour is broad, earthy, unashamed, and it binds the people together in shared joy. Between acts, musicians fill the air with sound. Pipes sing quick melodies, drums beat with soft insistence, strings hum with a steady drone. The music is both bridge and balm, carrying the audience from one scene to the next, keeping the rhythm of the night alive. Lamps flicker, stars shift, but the theatre holds its own time, its own pulse. Not all performances are comedies. Some nights tragedy takes the stage, then the masks are heavier, the voices deeper, the words slower, laden with fate. Kings fall, heroes fail, gods decree what men cannot resist. The audience grows still, the laughter silenced, replaced by breath held tight. Tears come easily in such moments, for tragedy is not distant. It is Rome itself reflected in story. Every man and woman here knows the weight of fortune, the fickleness of power, the certainty of loss. To see it played upon the stage is not to escape, but to understand. Beyond the stage, another kind of theatre unfolds in the audience itself. Merchants whisper deals in the back rows, their hands sketching promises in the air. Young lovers sit close, their shoulders brushing in shadows, their glances quick and secret. A senator listens with one ear while his eyes scan the crowd, noting who attends, who absents themselves. The theatre is not only performance, it is gathering, display, society made visible. To be seen here is as important as to see. Later, as the play ends, musicians return, their notes soft, soothing. The actors bow, their masks tilted in frozen smiles, and the audience applauds in waves, some clapping, others stamping feet against stone. The night does not end here. As the crowd disperses, music continues to drift through the streets, carried by performers who move from the stage into taverns, courtyards and open squares. Follow them now, and you will find smaller gatherings where stories are told without masks or stages. In a courtyard, lit by a single torch, a storyteller holds a circle of listeners, his voice weaving myths older than the city itself. He speaks of Orpheus and Eurydice, of Odysseus lost upon the sea, of Hercules and his labours. His words rise and fall like waves, and though no costumes or painted backdrops support him, the images he conjures are vivid. alive. Children sit cross-legged at his feet, their mouths open in wonder. Elders nod in rhythm, remembering tales they too once heard at twilight. Elsewhere, musicians play beneath balconies, their melodies rising into the night. A lyre sings in gentle chords, joined by a reed pipe in plaintive notes. A woman's voice begins to hum, soft at first, then stronger, carrying a song of longing that floats upward until it mingles with the stars. Couples pause to listen, hands linked, their hearts stirred by the simplicity of sound in the dark. Rome by night is not only spectacle and debate, it is song and story, rhythm and voice. It is the people gathered not to argue, not to conquer, not to labor, but simply to share in the beauty of sound and tale. In these moments, the city becomes tender, vulnerable, almost fragile. The same stones that echoed with the clash of swords in the arena now resonate with laughter, with music, with poetry. Stay a while longer in this gentler rhythm. Listen to the notes of the lyre, the laughter of the crowd, the storyteller's steady voice. The night is vast, but within its vastness, these small gatherings shine like constellations, separate yet part of the same sky. You walk among them, a guest in their company, your steps guided not by torchlight or stone, but by sound itself. The hour grows late, and the performances fade. Actors remove their masks, musicians still their strings, storytellers bow their heads in thanks. The crowd disperses once more, flowing into alleys and streets, yet the air remains charged with what has been shared. For in Rome, entertainment is never just diversion, it is communion. Whether in laughter or in sorrow, in comedy or tragedy, in music or myth, the people of this city find themselves reflected, reminded, renewed. You step away from the theatre, the music lingering like perfume in your ears. Ahead, torches flicker outside taverns, dice rattle on wooden tables, voices rise in raucous song. The night is not yet finished. Rome still has more to show before it sleeps. The theatre fades behind you, its laughter and music carried off by the breeze. But Rome is not yet quiet. Follow the sound of song, and you will find another gathering place, less polished, more raw, the tavern. Here the city loosens its belt, shakes off its dignity, and lives with unguarded laughter. The doorway is low, its curtain of rough cloth stained from years of hands brushing past. Step inside, and the air greets you thick and immediate. Oil lamps smoke against the walls, filling the room with a haze. The scent of roasted chickpeas, garlic stews, and sour wine presses close. Wooden tables crowd the floor, their surfaces scarred with knife marks and stained with old spills. The noise is constant, voices raised in argument, in jokes, in songs that wobble off key but carry the joy of many mouths singing at once. Here, divisions fall away even more than in the baths. Labourers sit beside merchants, freedmen beside soldiers. The seating is whatever space you can claim, the price of admission no more than the cost of a cup of wine. Some cups are cracked, others chipped, yet no one cares. The tavern is not a place for display, it is a place for presence. At one table, men lean close over dice, their brows furrowed, their hands tense. The cubes clatter against the wood, spinning and bouncing before coming to rest. Shouts follow, groans of disappointment, bursts of triumph. Coins slide across the table, sometimes honestly, sometimes with sly palms hiding a portion. Arguments flare, then soften into laughter. For the game is not about fortune alone, but about the thrill of chance, the momentary rise and fall that mirrors life itself. Elsewhere, a man strums a lyre, its strings slightly out of tune, but still carrying a melody. Others clap in rhythm, their palms slapping the wood, their voices rising in a rough chorus. The song is not refined, not rehearsed, but it belongs to the night, born of wine and fellowship. A woman joins in with her voice, low and husky, carrying the tune in a way that silences the chatter for a moment. Heads turn, Smiles spread, and for a few breaths the tavern feels like a temple of sound. In the corner, a storyteller spins a tale, his gestures broad, his voice rising above the din. He tells of a sailor lost at sea, of a goddess who guided him home, of storms conquered and treasures found. The listeners are half drunk, their eyes glassy, but they nod and murmur in time with the story, carried not by details but by rhythm. The tale is less about meaning than about belonging, a thread woven through a night already rich with voices. Children too linger here, not hidden but accepted, darting between tables, collecting scraps of bread, laughing as they chase one another across the floor. Their presence reminds all that Rome is a city not only of warriors and workers, but of families, of lives that grow in layers. Even in the roughest tavern, life is affirmed. As the night deepens, the songs grow louder, the dice games wilder, the wine heavier. Arguments flare now and then, over a coin, over a woman, over pride. Sometimes fists are raised, but just as often they are lowered again, dissolving into clumsy embraces, laughter returning like a tide. For the tavern is not built for violence. It is built for release. At last, one by one, men stumble out into the street. Some lean on each other's shoulders, some sing half-remembered verses, some move silently, their eyes heavy with drink. The tavern empties, but its echoes remain, the scrape of dice, the rhythm of cups, the warmth of voices layered together. You step outside with them. The air is cooler, sharper after the heat and smoke within. The stars still shine above, steady and remote, their light falling across cobbled streets. Behind you, the tavern door swings shut, its curtain falling still. Ahead, the city darkens, its noise fading into quiet. Rome does not sleep easily, but even it must soften. The songs are fewer now, the shouts dimmer, the laughter more distant. The night begins to yield to silence. You walk onward, carrying with you the weight of the tavern, the rough joy, the unsteady songs, the reminder that beneath the grandeur, Rome is also this, human, flawed, alive. Soon the watchmen will pass, their lanterns sweeping the stones. Soon the streets will belong to shadows and dreams. But for now, the echoes of dice and song follow you, fading gently as the night grows still. The city exhales, and you with it, both of you carried closer to rest. The tavern's raucous echoes fade, and the streets take on a new shape. Rome after midnight is not empty, but it is changed. The voices of crowds have thinned, leaving only fragments, a laugh carried from far off, the faint call of a vendor closing his stall, the clatter of a single cartwheel echoing too loudly against the stones. The city exhales now, its vastness softened, its rhythm slower. You walk along paving stones that are cooler beneath your steps than they were earlier, as if the heat of the day has finally released its hold. The air carries a blend of scents, damp earth, from gardens watered at twilight, smoke from the last of the cooking fires, the faint sweetness of figs left too long in a basket. It is not silence that greets you, but a quieter music, the splash of a fountain, the rustle of leaves in an enclosed courtyard, the steady hum of the night itself. Lantern light appears ahead, swaying gently. The watchmen, Rome's vigiles, come into view. Two of them walk together, their sandals striking in unison, their steps slow but assured. Each carries a staff, more for presence than violence, and a lantern of bronze, its light casting long ovals across the walls. Their tunics are plain, their cloaks pulled tight against the cool air. They do not stride like soldiers, yet their authority is unmistakable. They are guardians of the night, protectors not only against thieves but against fire, that ancient and constant enemy of the crowded city. They pause at an intersection where streets meet. One adjusts the lantern, shielding it with his palm as a breeze pushes against the flame. The other lifts a small horn and blows a low, steady note. It drifts outward, more reassurance than alarm, letting the next patrol know that all is well. The sound lingers, then fades into the night. For a moment it feels as if the city itself has exhaled. As they move on, you notice details you might have missed in daylight. A baker has already risen to begin his work. From a low doorway drifts the warm smell of bread, thick and rich, even before the loaves have formed. The ovens glow faintly, their firelight leaking through cracks, hinting at the dawn that is still hours away. You pass close and catch sight of him, his arms dusted white with flour, his hands kneading rhythmically. He nods once at the watchman, then returns to his labor. Tomorrow's market will begin with his bread. Elsewhere, a woman tends her small courtyard garden, her figure bent in the lamplight. She pours water carefully from a clay jug over basil, rosemary, and thyme. The scent rises sharply, mixing with the damp air. She straightens for a moment, wipes her brow, and looks skyward. Perhaps she is offering a prayer, or perhaps she is simply letting the night cool her face. Either way, her presence is another thread in the fabric of the city, woven silently but firmly. On a rooftop above, a cat crouches, its eyes glowing green in the lamplight. It flicks its tail lazily, unbothered by your presence, its attention fixed on the scurry of something unseen. The cat is as Roman as the arches and stones beneath you, a small guardian of grain stores, temples, and kitchens. Its life, unnoticed by most, is part of the quiet labor that keeps the city whole. You pass a small shrine set into a wall. A single flame burns there, sheltered by bronze, its light trembling but steady. Someone has left a garland of flowers, wilted now but still fragrant, and a small cup of wine. A passerby stops briefly, touches the stone, whispers a prayer, then walks on. No one else pauses, yet the shrine's presence is felt by all, a reminder that the gods watch even in the stillness of night. The streets narrow, bending into alleys where shadows deepen. Your footsteps echo louder here, each sound carrying far. A shutter creaks open briefly, then closes again, its occupant unseen. A child stirs in sleep, a small cough breaking the stillness before quiet returns. Rome is not asleep, but it is dreaming, its millions bound together in the rhythm of breath and rest. You climb a rise and find yourself at a high vantage. From here, the city spreads below like a map. Roofs stretch endlessly, broken by columns, temples, arches. The Tiber gleams faintly in the distance, catching fragments of starlight. Lamps burn here and there, scattered across the darkness like fallen constellations. For all its noise and power by day, at night, Rome is something else entirely. Vast, silent, immense, like a living being at rest. The watchmen pass again, their lanterns bobbing in rhythm. They check doors, note shadows, pause at fountains. At one fountain, the water pours steadily from a carved lion's mouth, splashing into the basin below. The sound is soothing, eternal. A man stops to cup his hands, drinking deeply, then wipes his face, sighing in relief. The watchmen nod to him, move on. Such moments are small, yet they form the heartbeat of the city at night. From somewhere distant, another horn sounds, its tone low, steady, reassuring. It is answered by another, fainter still. The city is vast, but these signals knit it together, each note reminding the people, awake or asleep, that they are not abandoned, that Rome itself is watching. As you descend again into the narrower streets, the night grows quieter still. A dog lifts its head as you pass, then curls back against a doorway. From inside a nearby house, you hear a soft murmur of voices, perhaps a bedtime story told to a child, or a prayer whispered before sleep. A servant extinguishes a lamp, its glow vanishing, leaving the courtyard in shadow. One by one, the city's lights diminish, though never entirely. The air grows cooler. A faint breeze carries the smell of the river, damp and sharp, mingled with distant smoke. Overhead, the stars sharpen, their light bright against the black. You slow your steps, letting the night guide you. The watchmen continue their rounds, their lanterns marking their presence like fireflies drifting across stone. The fountains sing, the shrines glow, the city breathes. Rome by day is empire, loud, ambitious, fierce. Rome by night is something gentler. Is not conquest but continuity, not power but persistence. The watchman's steps, the baker's hands, the woman's garden, the child's breath, all of these are Rome as surely as marble temples and triumphal arches. To see them is to understand the city not as legend but as life. You walk on, your own footsteps joining this rhythm. The midnight streets accept you, not as an intruder, but as a companion. You belong to them now as much as the watchman, the baker, the gardener, the cat. The city holds you, steady and calm, guiding you deeper into the stillness of its night. The streets fall stiller as you climb toward a hilltop. Behind you, Rome stretches vast and shadowed, its noise reduced now to murmurs and sighs. Ahead, the sky opens wide and brilliant, the city's lamps too few to compete with the stars. You stop and look upward, and suddenly the night reveals its other Rome, the one painted not in marble and stone, but in light and distance. The stars are sharp tonight, scattered across the firmament with deliberate care. The moon drifts slowly, pale and certain, while constellations gather in familiar patterns. For the Romans, these lights were not idle. They were messages, symbols, gods themselves stepping across the heavens. To walk the streets at night was to move beneath a second city, one made of myths, its roads traced in silver fire. You find a low wall and sit, letting the stones cool against your back. The air is clean here, touched with the faintest hint of sea salt. The torches of the city flicker below, but above the sky is endless. Slowly, the shapes begin to resolve. There the hunter striding with his belt of stars. There, the swan, its wings outstretched. To the east, the scorpion curves, its tail poised. For the Romans, each was a story, a reminder, a guide. A watchman passes nearby, his lantern bobbing faintly. He pauses, glances upward, and for a moment his face softens. Even those charged with guarding the streets know the pull of the heavens. He lingers, then moves on, his light swallowed by shadow. You remain, your gaze fixed on the expanse above. Consider how the Romans saw these lights. To them, the stars were not mere points of fire, but the dwelling places of gods and heroes. They told of Jupiter, king of the heavens, his thunderbolts flashing through storms. They told of Venus, bright and constant, guiding lovers and sailors alike. They told of Mars, red and restless, forever a reminder of war. Each planet was a deity, each movement across the sky a gesture, a sign, but the constellations held deeper stories still. There was Orion, the great hunter, slain by a scorpion and set among the stars as both warning and honor. There was Hercules, forever caught mid-labor, his club raised, his body immortalized in strain. There was Andromeda, chained and waiting, her rescue told not just in story, but in the very stars that marked her fate. Imagine a Roman family standing together in their courtyard on a summer night. The father points upward, tracing shapes with his hand, telling stories passed down from his own father. The children's eyes widen, their mouths open as they follow the invisible lines. The mother adds details, weaving myth with memory, making the sky itself a family heirloom. In this way, the stars bound generations together, carrying the weight of story through the centuries. The astrologers, too, watched closely. For them, the stars were not only stories, but instruments, a way to read fortune. The birth of an emperor, the outcome of a war, the fate of a harvest, all were written, they believed, in the shifting lights of the sky. Scrolls of charts and calculations guided their readings, and men of power listened, sometimes in secret, sometimes in public, to what the stars declared. The night above Rome was a text as much as a spectacle. But even beyond power and prophecy, there was comfort in the stars. To the sailor returning from a long voyage, the sight of the North Star was a promise of home. To the soldier encamped on foreign soil, the same constellations seen above Rome were a reminder of belonging. To the farmer in the fields, the stars marked the turning of seasons, the time for planting, the time for harvest. The sky was calendar, compass, scripture, and song. You breathed slowly, deeply, letting the vastness settle around you. The stars feel close, almost touchable, yet impossibly far. The Romans lived in that paradox. They reached for the heavens with temples and prayers, yet accepted the distance as part of the mystery. Their myths did not resolve the stars into simple meaning. They made them richer, heavier, layered with both wonder and warning. A breeze stirs, and you hear faint voices below. Someone sings a hymn, their notes carrying upward, fragile against the night. Perhaps it is a prayer to Diana, goddess of the moon, protector of hunters and travelers. Perhaps it is simply a song to ease the walk home. Either way, it joins the music of the sky, a human thread woven into the divine tapestry above. You close your eyes and listen. The city is quieter now, its pulse slowed. The amphitheatre sleeps, the taverns dim, the theatres silent. But above, the stars burn steady, their light older than the empire, older than memory itself. Rome may rise and fall, its monuments crumble, its people change, but the constellations remain. They are the city's most enduring architecture, its truest monuments. When you open your eyes again, you feel both small and vast at once. Small because the stars remind you of your own fleeting span. Vast because to see them is to share in what every Roman, every person before and after has known. To lift your gaze is to join an unbroken chain, a fellowship of wonder that crosses time as easily as space. The night deepens, the stars shift slowly, the constellations tilting in their eternal dance. You remain still, content to let them guide you, not toward answers, but toward rest. The myths linger in your mind of heroes, of gods, of lovers, and they soften into dream. Above you, Orion still strides. Hercules still labors. Andromeda still waits. The universe continues its performance, silent yet profound. And here, beneath it, you are both audience and participant, a Roman for this night, a witness to the heavens' endless story. The stars remain steady overhead as you leave the hilltop and descend once more into the city. The hour is late now, later than most remain awake. Rome has shifted again, shedding layers of sound, dimming its fire, curling into itself like a great beast at rest. The streets are nearly empty, yet not abandoned. Life lingers, softened, slowed, hushed. You walk past a fountain where earlier children had laughed and splashed. Now the water runs alone, its voice clearer without competition, each drop ringing against stone. Moss darkens the edges, glistening faintly in the moonlight. A single moth circles the flame of a nearby lamp, its wings pale and fragile, its movement gentle as a drifting petal. The city has narrowed its focus. Where once it held thousands of voices, now it magnifies the smallest. At a doorway, an old man closes his shutters. He pauses for a moment, leaning on the frame, gazing into the street. His eyes are tired, but his mouth curves in a quiet smile, as though he recognizes the comfort of stillness. He murmurs something, perhaps a prayer, perhaps a memory, and disappears inside. The latch clicks and the house becomes another quiet stone in the city's great mosaic. A stray dog pads silently across the street, its nose low, searching. It pauses near you, lifts its head, and blinks. For a moment, the two of you share the night. both wanderers in the city's softened hours. Then it moves on, disappearing into shadow. Even in Rome's silence, companionship can be found in the smallest gestures. You turn a corner and find a temple. Its columns rise tall and pale, their surfaces silvered by the moon. The doors are closed, but a lamp burns in a niche, steady and unwavering. Even while its priests sleep, the gods are kept company, their presence marked by flame. The offering basket holds fruit, some fresh, some withered, left by hands both pious and desperate. You pause, breathing in the scent of stone cooled by night, and feel the weight of centuries pressing gently around you. These walls have seen countless nights such as this, countless wanderers such as you. The temple endures, as do the stars above it. A breeze moves through the street, carrying with it faint sounds, the clatter of a cartwheel far away, the low song of someone walking home, the whisper of leaves stirred in a courtyard. The city is not silent, but its noises now are closer to heartbeat than to roar. They soothe rather than demand, steady rather than stir. In an upper window, a woman rocks her child. Her figure is shadowed, but the rhythm is clear, the slow back and forth, the soft croon of a lullaby. The child's cries fade into murmurs, then into silence. You watch only a moment before continuing, for some things are not meant for spectators, but belong entirely to the bond of family. Still, the image remains with you, another proof that Rome is not only empire, but home. You reach another open space, a forum that only hours ago bustled with trade and voices. Now its stones gleam pale, its stalls shuttered, its statues solemn. The voices of orators are gone, but their echoes linger, folded into the marble. The forum does not sleep exactly, it waits. Tomorrow it will wake again, crowded and noisy, but tonight it is a garden of shadows, still and reverent. You walk its edges, your steps slow, your breath measured, until you leave it behind. The watchmen appear once more, their lanterns swaying. They do not speak as they pass, only nod, acknowledging you without question. Their light recedes, leaving you again in starlight. Their presence reassures, Rome is held, even in its rest. Your path leads toward the river. The Tiber moves dark and heavy, its surface breaking the starlight into trembling shards. The water carries with it the smells of earth and salt, and the coolness of its breath touches your skin. You stand at its edge for a time, listening to its steady rush. The river does not sleep. It has flowed since before the city, and it will flow after. It whispers of continuity, of patience, of time, measured not in hours but in centuries. Rome listens whether it knows it or not. You wander back into narrower streets, the stones worn smooth, the walls leaning close. Here the city feels intimate, almost private. You hear the murmur of dreams, someone calling out softly in their sleep, someone sighing, someone whispering a prayer. The city dreams as its people dream, its rest made from their countless small breaths. Above, the constellations shift imperceptibly. The hunter moves, the scorpion curls, the swan drifts. They are not hurrying. They are content to move in silence, marking the passage of night. You walk beneath them, your own steps sinking with their patience. Time slows, then stretches, then seems to dissolve altogether. Finally, you return to the edge of the neighborhood where your walk began. The lamps burn lower now, some extinguished entirely. The stones feel cooler, the air softer. Even the watchmen are fewer, their lanterns far apart, their presence like punctuation in an almost finished sentence. Rome is settling, yielding, giving itself to sleep. You pause one last time. The city surrounds you, its stones, its waters, its shrines, its voices both loud and quiet. You have walked through its baths and taverns, its amphitheatre and theatre, its gardens and shrines. You have seen its roars and its whispers, its power and its tenderness. And now at the close of night you see its gentlest face. Rome is at rest, let yourself rest with it. Breathe as the city breathes. Let the silence guide you, the stars shelter you, the stones hold you. The night has carried you far enough. The city sleeps. Now so should you.